The forms for our woodshed slab are completed. Come see what we did. Welcome to Untamed Hearth, where adventures are a way of life and home is the cozy place we snuggle up in between. So I am up at the property working on the woodshed forms for the slab foundation. It's supposed to be my project, but of course I have questions. And River had to go to work today. It's his last day of work before he takes 2 months off to build the house. So he's not here for me to ask my question. But it is sopping wet up here. Everything is wet. It's so wet. I'm literally like walking through puddles on top of where the slab is going to be because it's so wet. Anyway, I'm going to show you what I have done so far. And the question that I have right now is I'm not sure if I'm using the correct boards to be the boards that are supposed to tie the two pieces of the form together. I'm just not sure if it's the right one or if those are supposed to be the ones to make the brace. I think I'm using the right boards, but I sent him a picture, but I'm sure he's in a meeting. So, anyway, that's where I'm at right now. Just waiting for that. Are these the correct board to use for this? I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyway, this is what I have done so far. I just laid out as many boards as I could on the flat surfaces, and then I can tie everything together with the nails. They're special nails so that they only go in just so far and they stick out a little bit. Special nails. You can only pound them in this far. That way they're easier to pull out when you're done, because we're going to have to take these forms apart so we can get them off the concrete after it's dry. Those were not the correct boards to make this places, so I'm glad I hadn't started cutting them. Those were the pressure treated boards that are going to go around the foundation that the walls are going to sit on. So that would have been bad. Anyway, I cut and measured all the splices, and then you have to line them up boards up very carefully because you want the top to be very straight, so that your finished form is very straight. I hammered those in. My hammering skills need some help, but we're working on them. We're working on it. I think I'll get lots of practice, so I'm not too worried about that. Alright guys, so what I learned when I was building the woodshed was when you have two boards like this that you're splicing together, you use a board the same thickness. So like we used 12-inch boards, so the splice that we put on it was a 12-inch splice. And then I learned that when you're putting nails in, you should make them evenly spaced, not a random pattern, because it helps keep the tension in the wood the same. So what we did was 6 nails on each side of the splice, pretty evenly spaced, and all like on the same plane. So all these nails would be lined up both sides, all these nails would be lined up both sides. Like I said, that's supposed to help keep the tension equal distance. And then after you've spliced them together, that's when you should measure your board. Because the boards that come from the factory are not necessarily the right size. They're often slightly different, ½ inch over, inch over, a quarter of an inch short, like you don't know. So splice your boards together, then measure and cut. This is what I learned when I was working on the Woodshed forms. We pounded in metal stakes on the back side of the form to keep it in place while we were doing other work on it. Since I had not cut the boards after I had put them together, River helped me cut them this way. This is not the ideal way to cut a board. It's preferable to lay it down on a flat surface, but it was already attached on the other end, so we put it up on some blocks and cut it sideways. Everyone wanted to join in on the fun, so Arden helped us hammer, and Soren was taking the video, as you can tell by the little fingers that keep popping up in front of the screen. We do not have a tripod for our phone right now, so somebody has to hold the camera unless we prop it up on something at the moment. We did a lot of measuring, measure each side to make sure it's the correct length, then measure corner to corner, and make sure those are the same. There's a special formula for that. I don't know, you can get a special carpentry calculator, which is what River has. So I don't know the formula for that, but there is a special formula for making sure that the distance from one corner to the opposite corner means that your building is square. On the wall at the back, which was by the ledge, we had to build braces to keep the form straight where the concrete is poured in. Concrete is really heavy, and so there is a tendency for it to push out the form and make your slab out of square. And we really would like it to be as square as possible. So we made all these braces, and that's what I'm building here. Then we filled that whole area with rocks. So hopefully it won't break out the back. So I made 2 braces today. 1, 2. Lots of progress. It's gonna take me a while to finish all that. I think I've got maybe 6 more to make. The thing is, none of them are the same size. They're all different lengths, all different heights. You gotta measure a lot of times to get it right. Sometimes you have to put bracing on the other side to make sure that side doesn't slip. So it's tricky.
Anchor this. In this case, this brace is serving dual purpose. It's touching the rock, so it'll resist the force of the concrete, kind of blow out the form. But this horizontal 2x4 will work as a dead man, they call it, an anchor. We're going to bury it, and it'll keep this thing from, as we backfill this, from wanting to bulge inward. So that's what we're doing.
So we completed the form, and then we were backfilling over those dead men things that River made along the front and both sides. And then along the back, we filled it with stones, which we had to do by hand because we couldn't get the machine back there. So as you can see, here's the machine. And he very carefully dumped it in there, and then I would push all the material into all the cracks and crevices. Hopefully this will keep it from bowing out. So then we put the rebar in, and we used these little bar towers, plastic towers, and you just put the rebar in and you step on them, and that keeps the rebar off the ground so it'll be in the concrete. They worked pretty well. A couple of them broke, but for the most part, they worked well. So here we are, folks. The finished form. Taking this apart is gonna be really hard. It's gonna take us longer to take it apart than it took us to put it together, I think. The forms are finished, and we are ready for the concrete. I can't wait to see how this comes out. I did not finish this project on my own. I made a lot of mistakes, which River had to fix, or help me fix. And honestly, there were so many things that went into it, like figuring out how to keep the tension between us backfilling it so that the forms won't break when we pour the concrete in, to us keeping the tension so that as we backfilled, it wouldn't collapse the form in toward the middle of the structure. There was just so much that went into figuring out how to do that, and we tried a few different things at different times, trying to get that tension right. Hopefully the concrete stays where it's supposed to and the forms hold strong, and we're gonna find out later today whether that worked. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see how this structure holds up. Join us in our next video to see how the forms held up. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it. Thanks for coming along on our adventure.